What if you woke up tomorrow, 30 years older? Would you regret how you spent today? Liam woke up to the sound of his alarm blaring. He didn't remember how he had fallen asleep, and his body ached from the long hours spent hunched over his desk the night before. His phone buzzed with emails, reminders, and missed calls. The weight of it all hit him before his feet even touched the floor. He stumbled to the bathroom, brushed his teeth, barely noticing his own reflection. He was always rushing. Always on the clock. By the time he reached work, the day was already slipping away. He didn't pause to think about what was really important. Work was important. Emails, meetings, tasks, deadlines, they filled his mind, pushing everything else aside. Liam's life had become one of constant motion. Wake up, rush to work, rush to finish tasks, rush home, only to collapse in bed, exhausted. There was no time for anything else. No time for himself, no time for reflection, and definitely no time for peace. Then one weekend, feeling burned out, he decided to take a break. He packed a bag and drove out of the city, seeking some relief, but not really sure where to go. Hours later, he found himself at a small temple in the countryside. The air was cool, and the sounds of birds chirping and the wind rustling the leaves were oddly soothing. Liam walked toward the temple, eyes heavy from the stress of the city. An elderly monk, seated by a simple wooden bench, looked up and smiled. "Welcome, my friend," the monk said with a calm voice, his eyes twinkling with warmth. Liam gave a small, tired smile. "Thanks. I needed some peace." The monk gestured for him to sit beside him. The peaceful quiet of the temple was a stark contrast to the chaos of Liam's life. He sat down and, for the first time in what felt like forever, allowed himself to just be. After a while, the monk broke the silence. "Tell me, my friend. What is it that you rush toward?" Liam blinked. He had never really considered it. The rush had always been about getting things done, about moving from one task to the next. But what was he actually rushing for? "I don't know," he admitted, his voice soft. I'm always behind. There's always something more to do. More emails. More tasks." The monk smiled gently. "You are like a man trying to catch the wind." Liam frowned. "The wind?" The monk nodded. "Imagine trying to grasp the wind in your hand, to hold it still. It cannot be done, no matter how hard you try." Liam thought about that. He had been so focused on doing that he forgot to live in the moments in between. The rush was never going to stop. It was like chasing something that was always out of reach. The monk continued, "In life, rushing only takes you further from peace. You can never catch up with time. But you can learn to flow with it. Like a river." Liam's mind raced as the monk spoke. Flow with time. He had been fighting it for so long, trying to keep up with a pace that didn't allow him to breathe. The monk stood up slowly, and Liam followed him down a narrow path behind the temple. The monk bent down, gently cupping his hands and filling them with water from a nearby stream. "Look at this water," the monk said, lifting his hands. "It is never in a hurry. It flows where it needs to go, naturally. It does not rush, yet it moves forward, endlessly." Liam gazed at the water, watching it move effortlessly over the rocks and around the bends. He had never really thought about time like that before. The monk continued, "The more you try to rush against the flow, the harder it becomes. But when you let go, when you let time flow through you, you find that everything falls into place without the struggle." Liam watched the water for a long time, letting the words sink in. The world had always told him that faster was better, that more was always the answer. But the monk's words were a different truth, one that felt right deep inside. When Liam returned to the city, his work was still waiting. Emails piled up, tasks loomed, and meetings demanded his attention. But Liam wasn't the same. He remembered the stream. He remembered how the water flowed without struggle, without rushing. So when the chaos of the day began, he paused. Just for a moment. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and imagined himself like the water flowing, not fighting. At first, it was hard. Old habits die hard. But slowly, day by day, he began to let go. He learned to focus on what mattered most in the present moment, not what had been or what would be. He took his time when it was needed. And when the pressure of the world seemed to push him, he responded with calmness, not haste. The deadlines were still there. The demands hadn't gone away. But Liam had found a new way of moving through them. Not faster, but with more peace and presence. One evening, as he walked home, he paused for a moment. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. He smiled to himself. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't rushing. He was simply being.